Hello and welcome to Emotionally Speaking. Something that a lot of people are doing or threatening to do or asking about is leaving social media. Since the election, actually before the election, the worst parts of social media have like blossomed into this horrible flower filled with ugliness. People not paying attention to what the person is posting about and just starting to have a fight. People posting about their position, that this is the worst thing or that person's the worst thing or this whatever. People commenting on posts just to be rude and impertinent. People intentionally misunderstanding each other. People coming on to just do a soliloquy on your page or your Twitter feed or your Instagram or whatever. And people are thinking, I think I'm just done. I think I just need to get away. And there's a certain part of that I would agree with. That if you're in a situation where your friends and the people who are engaging with you just have no manners, they don't know how to manage their emotions, and they're just being jerks, then I would say, yeah, take some time away. If you can move them out of your feed, if you can move them out of your way and just sort of like go your own way. The problem with leaving social media is, in many instances, it is where the people are, right? And that might be like, well, that's why I'm leaving, because people are just no good. For me, as a person who's really fascinated by emotions and empathy, is fascinated by violence, is a social science researcher. I like looking at social problems and cult behaviors, all sorts of strange things. I find the internet fascinating because you can see really in stark relief, you can see the problems of humanity, right? You can see that for many people, there is basically no emotion that they know how to regulate, like none. That jealousy and envy are at the forefront of a lot of people's behaviors on the internet. So if anybody seems to have something or have done something, they've always got to challenge or criticize, and in so doing, treating themselves as the person who knows more. So they've got envy about intelligence, right? Lots and lots of attack behaviors that look like anger but are actually panic. So anything where someone comes out and tries to hurt or punch at somebody or abuse or insult somebody, they think they're looking strong, like I'm an angry person, but I see you. That is panic. They're in terror. They're terrified, and they're trying to lash out in the way you would if like a bear was coming at you. So for them, the experience of being online is like a constant bear attack. And I have empathy for that. Like, I just watch it. It really helps to understand emotions when you're in a position of watching people who don't have emotion regulation skills, right? And rather than falling apart behind it or taking it personally or going into that level of emotional incompetence with the person, it can help to set your boundaries, ground yourself. These are skills that I have in videos from previous months. And learn yourself how to work with these emotions. And it's fun to start to name the emotions you see, like when people go on a flame war or when a comment thread just goes straight to hell. Someone will say something a little bit uncareful, then someone will take offense to it, and then another person will say, don't take offense, and then the first offender will then get more offensive, and then, oh God. I mean, it's like we should write music to it because it is so expected. It's like there's a regular rhythm to it. If you cannot handle that rhythmicity right now, I would say, yeah, take some breaks from social media. Go outside and look at real people and how they respond. Be with animals. Find people who do know how to regulate their emotions, who do know how to deal with conflict, who, when they're in panic, will not attack you. Right? Find people who are adults, even if they're teenagers, but who are mature in their social and emotional capacities. And know that those people exist, right? But right now on the internet, and for a lot of people, there's this flowering of ugliness. I think I said flowering before. There's a flower. There's a flowering of all the things that they weren't allowed to say, all the things they weren't allowed to think or do or believe. And so people are just spewing. And I think in many ways, it's a stage, it's a phase they're going through. Watch what they're trying to say. For me, like, I can deal with a tremendous amount of emotion, like a tremendous amount of many different emotions coming out of a person. I can just go, okay, there's panic and rage and hatred and suicide and blah, 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 right? I can just watch it and try to figure out what they're saying, even with all their spewy internet blah, blah, blah nonsense, right? What are they actually saying? And try to speak to that. Or just try to watch it. Maybe I don't want to speak to them because they're in so much panic and rage and suicidal whatever and jealousy and envy that none of which they know how to deal with. That they're really not like a functional human being at that time. They're just sort of weaponized emotions with a person who doesn't know how to work them. So I just watch them and have empathy. I mean, I remember having a bunch of emotions that I didn't know how to work with, and I would just tear into people and destroy their lives and that sort of thing, and I thought it was funny, right? I was a trauma survivor, and so a lot of the survival was for me finding different ways to have strength. And when I was younger, strength looked to me like brutality, duh. I figured it out, but understand that even the worst kind of internet trolls and just like comment kooks, they can wake up. They can wake up. So I think a lot of people are feeling despair about the human about humanity, and I think there's something to that, right? But will it help us deal with the situations we need to deal with if you are on the floor, right? If you can see it and respond to it, and you have emotional skills and you have empathic skills, and you're off social media completely, then who's left, right? It's where the people are. And you can try different ways. I mean, here's ways that we've all seen in comment threads that don't work. Don't go in when people are having a fight and say, can't we all just get along? You're going to get attacked. But what have you seen that does work? There are ways for people to reattain their intelligence and their focus and their grounding. Even when they're riled up and they've got themselves in a regular pattern of just being a jerk on the internet, right? That can change. I've met people who changed it. I've changed it. When I was early on the internet, I belonged to this site called something Fugly is the New Pretty or something like that. And it was two hilarious women who just took the mickey out of other women who were wearing strange fashion. And they were so funny, and I would go on there and we would just have the most hilarious snark fights and stuff like that. And I saw one of the women who they regularly make fun of, and she said, I don't understand it. I'm just having fun with fashion and doing different things. I don't know why they're all so mean. And I was like, aw, shite. Right? I mean, that just like, oh no, this isn't funny anymore. And I got off that site, right? It was so fun to be snarky, and I didn't realize there's a human being behind those clothes and those decisions. So people can wake up. And it was by that person, it was the actor Chloe Sevigny, being vulnerable, that this person was able to wake up. And probably I'm not the only one. So think about if you're having a hard time because human nature is getting uglier and uglier, Although I have to say, I've been looking back at many times in history, and we've been this ugly before. We've even been uglier than this, right? And we pull out. Somehow we pull out of it. Find places on the internet where people are thinking clearly, where they can regulate their emotions, where they are being mature and functional human adults, and spend time there, right? If Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever are just turning into cesspools, then turn it down. Maybe visit. You can look at it and go, oh look, rage, hatred, panic, jealousy, and envy. That's what's happening today. Find the one funny thing, retweet that or share it, right? See what you can do within this kind of like loud mess with your skills, with your grounding, with your focus, with your emotional awareness. See if you can be even a tiny light in this mess. You do make a difference. Like one person. I'll sometimes have my Facebook feed just full of woe and violence and just whatever, just like, hey Carla, watch me not manage my emotions. I'm like, really? This is interesting, not. And one person will find something so perfect and boom, that's the start of my day. It's a difficult time. And I think running away from it and trying to move it out of your consciousness there's a self-protective aspect to that. But if you do have emotional skills and if you do have the capacity to do more than just react or run away, then do it. Because this is how it changes. People who, for whatever reason, they lucked into having emotional and social and personal skills, they pull us out of the despair that humans are so prone to, again and again and again and again throughout history. It's been the creative ones and the funny ones and the loving ones who have figured out how to turn us around. So if you got them skills, please share them. It does matter. It matters. See you soon.